Action. Alright, hey everyone, my name is Kamal,
My name is Patrick.
and for our final project for this class, we decided to analyze NFL statistics because we're such big football fans. Why not analyze something we actually know about, care about, and actually enjoy? And without further ado, let's go ahead of an overview of our program.
Alright, so the overview. We kind of split the data into two parts, offense and defense, analyzed it over a 13-year period with all of the NFL teams. We did multiple analyses each, and we did 3 visualizations that you guys will see in a moment. We have a very user-friendly interface. We have a couple buttons, and you can type in your own NFL team and look up all their stats.
Alright, so now as Patrick said earlier, we split up the workload into 2 separate parts. I analyzed the offense because, for one, it's a lot cooler. And what do I mean by cooler? When anyone thinks about the NFL, they always look at the offensive stats: rushing yards, passing yards, and number of touchdowns per game, and so on and so forth. And what my part of the program analyzed was the average passing yards per season, average rushing yards per season, and the rushing yards per game per season. And what's not included in the PowerPoint, I also analyzed the average first downs to the number of games per team, and as well as the number of wins to the total yards for each team. Now, the higher the number you have, the worse it is, because if you have a low number of wins, then you're obviously going to have a higher number. More wins, you're going to have a lower number, so the lower is better in this case. Now let's move on to defense.
Alright, so I did the defense, which obviously had longer and more boring data. However, I still managed to analyze average touchdowns, average yards per season, penalties per team per season, and the maximum fumbles for a team.
Alright, so now let's go ahead and look at our actual data and how it's formatted. So as you can see, this is the offensive data, and the way that we have our data, and as Patrick mentioned earlier before, we analyzed from 2003 till 2016, and we have separate Excel files for each year of the offense and defense. So the way the offensive stats are set up is we have the team names here and their respective stats. And here is the defensive stats,
Which is set up the same way. You have the names and then their respective stats. However, as you can tell, it is a much larger file.
Yep, it's a lot more complicated to work with, but we got it done. And now let's move on to the main part of this video, which is our actual program. And let's actually show you our program. So here's our program. As you can see, it takes a very similar form to the labs and projects that we have done earlier. Not quite.
It's a bit longer.
It's a bit longer, but it's pretty much the same concept. So the way it works is we type in, we call the function, which is named football in this case, not there, here. Then you press enter, and now what's saying is the NFL season is analyzed. And the way this works is you type in the year, and we're going to be analyzing 2016, and we're going to be analyzing the offense first. Not OOA. Okay. And the way to call the offensive functions is you press 1 for offense, 2 for defense, or 0 to exit. So we're going to press 1 because we're doing offense. And a nice little bar graph shows up that shows the total rushing yards and how many teams were in that ratio. So as you can see, majority of the teams had anywhere from between 1,500 to 2,000 rushing yards. And I'm guessing the Browns were in this category. The Browns are terrible. And now we can now this little window right here lets you type in your favorite team name to analyze their wins to yard ratio. And
considering we're in Chicago, I feel we should do the Bears.
We have to do the Bears because they're obviously the best team right now, way better than the Packers. Okay, so we just press OK, and the data shows up right here. You have chosen the Bears, and their wins to yard ratio is around 1,900, which isn't the greatest, but what are you going to do? It's the Bears. And now we're going to see the average first downs per game per data. Okay, so now Patrick, how would you like to see it? Would you like to see it as a heat map, area chart, or a horizontal bar chart?
We should probably go for a heat map. I think that would be pretty cool.
Okay, so here's a heat map. As you can see, right here it shows the number of first downs that each team had, and right here gives you an indication of how many teams were in that range. So as you can see right here, the majority of the teams had anywhere from between 10 to 11 first downs, which is fairly good, not gonna lie. Okay. And we just exit that, and now we're going to analyze the defense. In order to analyze the defense, we have to press 0 to exit, Okay, a nice little window pops up. Okay.
Alright, so now to analyze the defense, you have to type in football again. But this time you type in the year and you add defense to the back. Once you get to pick the option of typing in 1, 2, or 0, you have to type in 2. And a whole bunch of analyses pop up and the scatter plot that we did. As you can see, a majority of them averaged in between 15 to 16 penalties. This is times 100, so it's like 1,600 to 1,500 penalties. Thankfully, the Browns have a lot to contribute to these penalties.
Mm-hmm. And like the offense, we have because zero extra function and
And the same window pops up as
Yep.
before with
And-
the UIC logo.
yes, and you can do this for all the years from 2003 till 2016. And that concludes our video. We hope you enjoyed it. And
Leave a rating.
Yep. Thank you.